Right, so here we are. What's it? 4:23 a.m. on March 16th. I'm not sure what I'm going to call this one, but this will be history of propaganda again. And what's it? The one of the themes of Volume 2 was psychopathic women. And what did I just post earlier today on LinkedIn and on my Facebook? It was an article about what's going on in Korea right now. I'll put the link in the description. Let's see. It's from thecut.com. And it's entitled A World Without Men. The women of South Korea's 4B movement aren't fighting the patriarchy. They're leaving it behind entirely. So this includes, political lesbianism. And as they state in the article, that's the only way that they can achieve independence in that country. And how there's, this was the first couple of paragraphs stating that there's an overwhelming number of crimes, suspended jail sentences for non-consensual photos, femicide, revenge porn, and dating violence, and spy cam sex crimes. So this usually happens in like extremely conservative cultures. Like you look at the Japanese culture and like anime, specifically like hentai genres and whatnot, which are they're kind of like pushed off to the side in Japan. They're considered weird, even by their standards. So like, what can I say? Looking at this article, it's very much emblematic and very much the same. Of course, this video is not associated with Alpine Star. I just have this T-shirt on, and apologies to Alpine Star because well, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So just to talk more about this article, it's not too long. And like my sister Natalie, like she was in Korea for about 7 or 8 years, working for ministry and English teaching, or teaching English and stuff. So she went to Japan. She went to Thailand for a short period of time, very short period of time, I think, if I remember correctly, if she ever watches this. And with Teen Challenge Korea, I think she worked in an orphanage for a short period of time. And how there's a thing in Korea where the ajumas, the grandmothers, some of them, in order to make ends meet, they have to prostitute themselves, which is extremely unfortunate. And let's be fair to women in that some cultures there's not very much of an equity or a balance. And so some things need to change to be more modernized. But there's a point at which it becomes unbalanced, not just in the legal system but also within the culture. And when you have too much of one over the other, then that's what leads to like the Mouse Utopia experiment. And someone pays the price. Someone always pays the price by the legal precedents, and also the cultural ones, or trying to. So it says here, the first no bihon. So 4B is shorthand for 4 Korean words that all start with B or no. The first no is the refusal of heterosexual marriage. Bishlen, the refusal of childbirth. Biyone, saying no to dating. And bisekuse is the rejection of heterosexual sexual relationships. It is both an ideological stance and a lifestyle, and many women the author spoke to extend their boycott to nearly all men in their lives, including distancing themselves from male friends. So, as I call it, it's this turbo lesbianism, and when we turn our backs on each other, we need men and women in order to have a healthy society. You need to have children. That's the whole point, of civilization, is just the fact that it's for our children, and to have some sort of structure that holds the violence at bay. Because the threat of violence is one of the few things that keeps us all in line. And then on what lies underneath is a violent society. The dirty underbelly of every civilization, right? And then the thing that I was reminded of today was the Ides of March. So the assassination of Julius Caesar, and how that actually, that's a good example of what happens when a group of people feel threatened by an individual. But their concern obviously was, well, they felt that Caesar was gaining too much power and to become king of Rome, as it was with Mark Antony. Okay. I don't blame a woman for turning her back on men if there's some sort of sexual assault or some sort of undealt with trauma. Obviously you got to deal with that. But this is the breakdown of society at its finest, because like what was it is talking about, but the declining of fertility rates as well. And probably has something to do with the concentration of the population concentration in urban centers. And then also say stuff, as I've said before, it has to do with the dating applications. It has to do with an overabundance of wealth and concentration, or disparity, either one of the two. So concentration within the country in comparison to somewhere else in the world, but also disparity of class structure, and the lack of accessibility and options to every individual. So socioeconomic status, so it may be. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here it is. One of this paragraph here. Not to take it out of context here. Even young women who are not members of the movement echo that they could not imagine dating or marrying a Korean man. Su Yen, a teacher in her early 30s, told me that talking to her male friends made me always feel like, oh, maybe I can never find a Korean man. Even in my generation, some guys expect a really traditional role from their spouse. As if to prove her point, a recent survey by a matchmaking company found that women were reluctant to marry because of the division of housework, while men hesitated because of feminism. So again, social movements matter, and hence why I'm doing these videos, rather than trying to go out and flip burgers or whatever, or be slapped in the face with rejection by whom or wherever I apply to, saying, okay, what the hell are you doing here? You're an aircraft mechanic. They look at your resume and they're like, what the hell's wrong with you? Or whatever else. Intimidation. People are very intimidated by intelligence. Absolutely. And if you can get through these videos and you can stomach the information, then all the power to you. That means that you have curiosity, and curiosity is a facet of intelligence, along with memory and pattern recognition, planning, and language. Language is another good one. Capacity for language and communication. Okay, so then they're talking about financial crises, growing housing costs, and intense competition for university spots and jobs. The way women and men related to each other openly soured. So again, this is in parallel to what was happening, what has been happening here in North America, because Koreans really, well, actually not just Koreans, but a lot of Asian countries, they idolize the West, right? Like they bleach their skin, they get nose jobs, they change their eyes to look more Western because it's considered a status symbol. Okay. College-educated women. That's a problem. And again, within the first volume, I started to allude to this. Saying that okay, well, and also I've said this before. That the feminism of our age, of my age, right? So third wave, intersectional, wishy-washy, grievance bullshit. To be honest with you, like I don't even agree with a lot of this stuff. But there was the basics that are reasonable and that were supported by men, right? And there was, without men, there's no feminism. Let's be clear about that. There's no feminism without men. Shoot me if you want to. I don't care. Okay, the ones I'm gonna cite for this one. I'm not gonna say her. I gotta read up a little bit more. But suggested reading, like I should probably read this myself. Say like Joyce Carol Oates. Pseudonyms Rosamund Smith and Lauren Kelly, born June 16th, 1938. So her themes have to do, where is it here? So in 2001, Oates published a short story collection, Faithless, Tales of Transgression, richly various tales of sin, an extensively and mainly retrospective volume of her stories, High Lonesome. I was going to say Susan Sontag, but I don't really like her. She likes Francis Bacon. Okay. let's remember Francis Bacon was not a good character. He wasn't. He was a huge homo, right? And he liked S&M. He liked sadomasochism, and that's a reason to critique them. Is honestly, you can't trust someone that likes sadomasochism. If you haven't read the 100 Days of Sodom, which I haven't, but I know about it, there's some depravity in humanity that doesn't need to be, acted out and brought into the open. It needs to be put away back into the bedroom, so to speak. Keep that stuff under wraps. Like, get your own clubs for crying out loud. Okay, but if we're gonna go on the positive side here, under 15 minutes. Let's see, Susan Sontag. So I'm gonna not Susan Sontag. What's her name? Here we are, Susan B. Anthony, which was whom was pardoned by Trump, which I find hilarious. Let's go back to her Wikipedia here. So I'm probably gonna do a portrait of this one. She's interesting enough. She at least deserves it. Okay. American social reformer and women's rights activist who played a pivotal role in the women's suffrage movement. Born into a Quaker family committed to social equity, she collected anti-slavery petitions at the age of 17. In 1856, she became the New York State agent for the American Anti-Slavery Society. Okay. So there's a pattern to be recognized here, and it's that true feminism is Christianity and it's pro-life. It is. I'm sticking to that. That's my judgment. As is the chain of evidence. True feminism is Christianity, as are all religions. All religions are pro women. except for certain sects of Judaism, which are, insular and esoteric, and they're incestuous. People aren't going to like me saying that, but whatever. Yeah. Okay. So, as I said, too much of one thing, too much of a good thing, it becomes a bad thing. And when it's life out of balance, as I've said before, the pendulum swings both ways, right? From the far left to the far right, if you're going to go by a political scale, or the plumb bob always swings around before it centers. If you're going to talk about, say, like a political compass, and this. I'm going to look up Emily Carr again here. Okay. This is pretty reaching, this is from the Globe and Mail from 2006, and it's written by Sarah Milroy, published June 3rd, 2006. Emily Carr, feminist, nationalist, misfit, Westerner, native advocate. So I got to Control F here and find feminine. Next results. Oh. Okay, so this is a poor judgment. Again, this is okay. As it says, with 2020 feminist hindsight, later, probably about halfway through the article, using Control F to find a keyword. It's cringeworthy to try and make that. It's okay. Feminine. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is seriously reaching. There's only 3 times the word is used in the article, so to constructively take it apart, it's not credible. It's not credible because when was Emily Carr alive? And you think about so she was alive from 1871 through to 1945. So suffragettes, so women's in Canada. Let's go to the timeline. From 1922, suffrage, different times, different jurisdictions. So as it is, Canada always follows the United States with precedence because of cultural differences. They say, again, I'm not 100% in depth on this, but I know a lot more than other people do. The cause of women's suffrage here is early history. Began in 1876, where Dr. Emily Stowe came to Toronto to practice medicine. First and sole woman physician in Canada. Then it goes on through Toronto Women's Literary Club, Canadian Women's Suffrage Association, 1883. So again, when it comes to history, it's the same as it is with law, right? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Names and dates, right? Names and dates for the fighter pilots. Names and dates. 1882, Ontario Municipal Act was amended to give married women, widows, and spinsters, if possessed of necessary qualifications, the right to vote on bylaw and some other minor municipality matters. So that's right to vote. That was the first real reason for suffrage. And then like the division and responsibility, wage earning, 1890s. So it's in line with her life, but Carr wasn't directly associated with any of this stuff as far as I can tell, or from what I can deduce. She was on her own, so the connection is far-reaching and is tenuous at best. But we're gonna have a piece of art here for the history of propaganda, because we'll just put this one as let's see, the hijacking of Emily Carr. now I really enjoyed drawing her, and I think she liked it too. So we're at 20 minutes. That's good enough. So let's just be clear that, and remember that history is not what we think it is. And yeah, it's better that we listen and we learn than it is to open our mouths and make ourselves look stupid. See you next time.